painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking. KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Art Beat. Art Beat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Art Beat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Aha, another great edition of Art Beat. Ooh, it's a little squeaky. We're going to have to put some oil in that microphone arm there. There we are, and there's my voice. I always got to turn up my headphone volume because I really like to hear myself when I talk. It's my belief that it makes it, I'm a better talker if I can hear what I'm saying. So, we have some special guests here today on Art Beat from Theater to Mississippi. They have a new show that's playing, and I'm going to go around and introduce them. And the show's called Return Engagement, but we'll find out a whole bunch of that in just a second here. Let's introduce ourselves to our guests. First guest, Michael. Right? Fitzpatrick, is that correct? Oh boy. Michael, hang on a sec. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Testing.
And I forgot to turn your mics on. There you go. Now we're all on.
We've got the red light.
Excellent. Oh my goodness. Right. Isn't it exciting?
Very exciting.
Very, very. So Michael Fitzpatrick, correct?
That's me, yes.
And you, many people might know you in town from GRSF, perhaps?
The Great River Shakespeare Festival, 17 seasons for the last. I've been coming here for 20 years, yeah.
Dang.
I know. And I'm only 21, so it's weird.
Right, I know. That is weird. It's, well, time travel, right? So you must like our fair city, huh?
I really do.
Cool.
I love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we do too. So thank you for being here. And then our next guest, she's less than 21, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Michael, I love that. 21 and 20 years. So can you remind me what your name is again? Ruth. Okay, great. Thank you for being here, Ruth. And you are actor or behind the scenes? What are you doing with Theater to Mississippi here today?
I'm an actor in Return Engagement.
Okay, sounds good. And then I believe we have, we have Kathleen, and I believe she wrote the script for this play. Is that true?
I did.
Wow.
My name's Kathleen Kenny Peterson, and I am the playwright of the production.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. Wow, we have quite the crew, I guess, from Theater to Mississippi here today. We have the playwright, we have the big time actor, and we have a new young actor. I love that. That's great because we'll get a good kind of a nice little slice of what you guys do, which I think is fantastic. So first off, let's kind of talk about what this play is. And forgive me if I'm going to have to look at my notes here for some of this stuff. Is this the one? Did we have opening? This already played last weekend, right?
It did. It opened last weekend.
But there's another weekend coming.
Yep, Friday, right? Saturday, Sunday of this coming weekend.
So get your tickets now.
Right. Sounds good.
There you
and
go.
That and it's being held at, is it Minnesota Conservatory for the Arts? Is that where we're
Yes,
going? Yes,
gorgeous space.
Great, yeah, it's a great space for sure. So let's talk about the play itself. And Kathleen, maybe this is a good question for you. Can you kind of tell our viewers, because there are a few stories out there with the title Return Engagement, but this one's different. So can you kind of give us maybe a little synopsis of what this entails?
Yeah, the title is a little bit of a double entendre. A return engagement is when an actor comes back and does a reprise of a show, but this is about an actor who has to go back to his hometown because he has multiple sclerosis, and so he has avoided his hometown for 40 years. So he is thrust back into this tiny Minnesota hometown that he does not have a connection with, let's just say that, with the town or the family. So it's navigating a lot of things.
Right. Wow. So it's kind of about new things happening that aren't new things, like refreshing, right? Like putting on an old pair of boots that you haven't wore for a few seasons, perhaps, right?
Or 40 years.
Or 40 years, right.
Yeah.
Just keep saying that. That's nice to hear continually.
Sorry.
No.
So where did the inspiration, since we have Kathleen here on the mic right now, where did the inspiration from this come from?
I wrote a one act based on this premise several years ago. I had a dear friend who lived with MS for many years. He was a very close friend, as was his wife, and he has now passed away. And just witnessing what they went through and how they did it with a lot of grace and a lot of humor, and there were times when it was extremely difficult, and there was a lot of anger, and it just made it was a big impression on me what they went through and what we as friends went through with them, and so yes, it was just, and how the concept of the actor coming home to his hometown, I'm very much into family dynamics and people's relationship with place in all of my writings. So that kind of wove its way in then. I kind of feel the same way. I really like dramas that or things that stories that entail the family dynamic, like you said, and I'm super into place, which is I'm glad you like our little town, Michael.
I do,
because this place, there's so many. Let's just say I have a deep love for Winona. Let's just put it that way, in the surrounding area. So now I'm going to go around kind of the table here a little bit, and so Michael. Like we mentioned before, many of us know you from Great River Shakespeare Festival. What drew you back to participate in this?
The lady across the table from me, right there.
Okay.
She asked me, and I was honored to do it, and to come here in the fall. Never been here at this time of year. Winona is hot and green all the time for me for 20 years.
Right.
And I've been told that it's not always like that, so I got to come back now. And
right.
I'm staying with dear friends that I've made here, and this is also the gentleman that much of this is based on was also a dear friend, a big supporter of the Shakespeare Festival, and that's been a big responsibility to honor him and to try and portray someone in that capacity.
Do you think, since like the two of you were friends, does that is it sort of cathartic to like do this and put it, your art and weave it with stories of people and things like that? Does it help you? And you're dealing with things,
Yeah, in fact, our friend's wife attended the play with our friend's sister this past weekend. So, and it has been an emotional experience for actually a good many of the audience members. But for me, it was really special to have Michael play the role, because Michael was also a friend of my friend, and I know he loves Winona. So love for Winona it's a little meta in places, because
except for the fact that I didn't grow up here, there's so many connections.
Right. And
I'm so glad I didn't know they were coming that night. And we say hello to the audience as they leave the theater, and I saw her and her sister-in-law, and we cried. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's what happens, right?
And they liked it, which is the best part.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Now I want to get to Ruth. Let's bring you into this as well, because you have a slightly different view, just because of your age, I think, probably, right? How long have you been acting, Ruth?
I've been acting for probably about, I would say, maybe 8 years. 9
okay.
years.
Cool. So you're in high school right now, then?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. 8 years. Holy buckets. So you've been doing this for a while, since you were kind of small, right?
A lot of it was through the Minnesota Conservatory.
Sure.
Some of it through the Shakespeare Festival with the young actors and the children's group. Or
you had amazing teachers there, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it's been really special because Michael and Ruth actually know each other quite well.
Right. So you guys have known each other through Shakespeare and everything like that, right?
Yes.
Very cool. So what got you? How'd you get connected with Theater to Mississippi?
Well, Daryl Lands, the director, he's a very good friend of my mother's, and he asked me if I'd like to audition, and I said yes.
Cool. Sounds good. Easy peasy, right? And you were a shoo-in, right?
She was, actually.
Yeah.
After her audition.
Cool.
You bet.
Cool. It was kind of unanimous, like, ooh, she's got to play the role, huh? So let's find that out. So what role are you playing in the play?
I'm playing Sofia Vasquez. She's a 15-year-old actor at the community theater inside the show. Okay.
And then Michael, while we're on that, who's the character that you play?
I play Richard. The main
character.
I guess.
Right.
Comes home to his hometown. This is also, I would say, a lot about shedding fears and preconceived notions, and bringing family back together that have been sort of estranged for no good reason, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Just distance and time, probably, right?
Yeah.
Is what happens a lot. Did you find that your connections here in town, did that help you to do this role?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, actors speak in images, as that's how I learn my lines anyway, and didn't even have to work for all the images that I create in my mind for this play.
Right.
They're all here.
Cool.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. So, let's see. And then I just want to mention, so we're talking about Return Engagement. It's going on right now, put on by Theater to Mississippi. There are showings this coming weekend. Let's see if I can find them here on my notes.
October 6th and 7th at 7 p.m.
Yes.
And October 8th at 2 p.m.
At 2. Okay, sounds good. So matinee on Sunday at 2, and then Friday and Saturday evening. So go ahead and get your tickets. You can get tickets at, I believe, Chapter 2, can't you?
Chapter 2
Chapter
and
2
No
books.
Name.
And No Name, right?
Right. And on
online.
Eventbrite.
Yep. So I'm assuming we can go to the Theater to Mississippi website and find a link to the tickets, right?
Yes.
Sounds good. So Ruth, let's see here. What was it like? Is this your first production with Theater to Mississippi?
It is, yes.
Okay, it is. So what was this like compared to, because as we mentioned before we turned the mics on, I met you last summer, I think it was last summer, with Junie B. Jones.
Yes.
It was like a year ago that summer, right? So that was through Minnesota Conservatory for the Arts. What was it like moving from that into this community theater organization?
Yeah, so it's definitely a different experience. Most of my life I've worked with other children, both older and younger, depending on the group or the organization. And in this one, it was a whole variety of people of all ages, and it was very interesting learning how different age groups act, because I've only seen one my entire life.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. So did you, I'm guessing you kind of learned a lot then, right? By doing this? Would you say that, how would you say your acting is now as opposed to before starting this venture with Theater to Mississippi?
Well, with every character that a person takes on, you learn a lot more about how others feel in certain situations, but this one gave me a lot more insight than most other characters I've played, because it allowed me to experience more than just one character's feelings.
Okay, sure.
Through one character.
Right. Nice. Well, I'm sure it's a fantastic opportunity for you, and can't wait to see what else you do as well. Kathleen, we talked a little bit about, I'm talking to Kathleen now. Kathleen's a playwright here. We talked a little bit about place and family relations, things like that. How important, how important a role, kind of, I guess, does the place of Winona, or Minnesota rather, have for this for the play that you wrote?
The setting's really important.
It is. Okay.
The town in the play is smaller than Winona. It's more like maybe even like a Lewiston size.
Right.
town.
Okay. Sure.
But the sensibility of somebody coming back after not being back for many, many years and not having a great childhood. The character is gay, and there's some discussion in the play about growing up gay in a small town, and it did not go well for this main character.
Right.
So that was important. Obviously, I'm not from Winona. I've lived here for 40 years, but I'm not from here. So when
that's okay. We take you in after 40.
Absolutely. Well, and
you're a resident after 40.
Well, and that's part of what Winona kind of does, because we didn't think we would be here very long, and we are still here.
Right.
Raised our daughter here, etc. So the sensibility of the town's acceptance, or what the main character may have expected, and that his expectations were wrong, or he was surprised by certain things after he came back, was an important part of the play for me.
Right. Yeah. So in this story, and this is kind of a question for everybody, I'm assuming you've already mentioned tears, so I'm assuming there's some teary moments, right? Are there any funny moments, exciting moments, and what would your favorite moments be in this story?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yes, there are all of the above.
Okay, good.
And
good.
more than, I mean, the laughs, I think we're just finding the pace of it. And man, oh man, Sunday's audience was just loving it and laughing. And yeah, there's some high drama too.
I think that happens sometimes too when well, maybe you tell me. You guys are the experts. When you're on stage there and you're performing it, when you've been rehearsing, you've been doing this, but you're performing it and you get that live feedback from the audience, does that alter your performances? You know what I mean? Like, does that make you go, ooh, that part I need to do this way or that way?
Of course. That's why most places I've worked, we have previews for a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
Right.
We opened last Friday. That was our first audience.
And just get right into it, right? Yeah, for sure.
Thrills, chills, spills. Yeah. So.
But yeah, that feedback.
Because they're the next component. You can't do it without
the audience. So, right, yeah. For sure. Ruth, what was that like? Was that different in this setting than your settings in the past with MCA?
Well, a lot of times the audience gives feedback, and that feedback, you like you said, you learn how to adapt to the script and the situation to make it more appealing to the audience. With this show, there was a lot of things that we found where, oh, this part's actually funny, or oh, I didn't realize that. And I definitely found a few of those parts, but I feel like the audience also gives us more energy as they pick up what we've had. So
100%.
I mean, they'll laugh at something, and it will give us more energy to keep going on.
Right. I think a lot of times, I know anyway, a lot of times I will laugh at things simply because they're so relatable for me. Mm-hmm. Where I'm like, oh my God, yes, I know where that's coming from. Mm-hmm. Do you find that happens a lot with this, or?
Yeah, specifically to like a theater audience too. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of jokes that actors will understand better than people who have just seen shows or have never acted.
Yeah. But there is also there's a lot of talk about a small town life, what the situation is, that I think is extremely relatable. Yeah. The challenge to all this is not to play for those laughs or the drama,
okay.
And just keep staying true to what you're trying to do on stage.
Right.
It's very seductive.
Oh, that's interesting.
To young actors and to seasoned actors, it's still just as seductive.
Cool. Is that what keeps you doing it?
Yeah.
Or one of the things, perhaps?
Absolutely,
yeah. And along those lines, like, Kathleen, do you ever revise things, like, after they're, like, not a theater person, so I don't have really any inside experience at this. Are you revising things when they're rehearsing and being like, oh, maybe do that or that? Are you part of that process, or?
The only thing, no, I didn't do any. There was no major revising. There were a couple of lines that were a little awkward in the mouth, so I rewrote them, and then we tweaked the ending of the play. But this play took me probably 7 or 8 years to get it where I felt it was good enough to try and produce it.
Right.
So, and luckily the director and the cast didn't want me to change
right.
too much. It's kind of my baby. Although as soon as I saw the first rehearsal, it sort of stopped being my baby, and I felt it was out into the world. It didn't belong to me anymore.
Interesting.
Once a play gets off the page, it becomes its own animal.
Right.
So it was a little bit of an out of body experience, and it's been, the local cast has just been amazing and so committed, so 1,000% committed to making this such a good production.
Yeah.
And
I'm really glad you brought that up. Like, once it's out there, it feels like it's out in the world. So, I have friends across several different artistic disciplines, right? And I heard one of them say one time, it's really weird when someone buys my stuff, I don't like it. I'm like, what do you mean you don't like it? And he said, well, that's going to be in their home, and it's mine. I made it. And I'm like, wow, that's an interesting thought. Does it take on a life of its own for you? Like, after they, all those actors and directors get a hold of it and do their thing with it, then do you think it's like standing on its own then? And like, well, you mentioned raising kids. Is it similar to like, what's that feel like, when they leave, when your play leaves and someone else takes it?
It definitely has a life of its own. And that's true of everything. I published a couple of novels, and this is like the fifth play that I've had produced, and you have to let it go.
Right.
You
right.
do. That's just part of the deal.
Was that first rehearsal? Was it fun, or was it exciting, or hard to say? To let it go.
It was hard, but to be honest, I could see that the cast, the people who were cast in the roles, they got it. They kind of got what the play was about right away and what I was trying to do. And there's a play within the play.
Okay,
too.
Right. Because he's an actor, right?
Yeah, because he's an actor. So, I felt really good after that first rehearsal.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was the answer I was hoping you were going to say.
Right. Well, that's a good question, because it's like, yeah. I never imagined that before, that people would feel funny about letting it go.
And I would never act. That's something I would rather bury myself in a hole. That's just something that I've never been attracted to. I don't know how people actually do it. Get up on a stage and do anything.
Right, yeah.
So I have a lot of admiration for the art form of acting.
Right. Well, you have to put your trust in them, right? Letting your baby go and letting them take it. You kind of have to trust them, and I think vice versa, right?
Yeah.
I would never write.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a cold day in hell.
Right.
So I'm amazed and just agog at people who can write so well as
Totally.
you do.
Yeah. Well, I think that's why we all do what we do, right? Because that's our piece, and then we work together to make all this stuff happen. That's fantastic. Ruth, did you have a favorite experience out of this at all, or?
Well,
it could be anything, rehearsals or opening night, whatever.
I think the best experience is just spending time with these people, because I've gotten to know them so much, or gotten to know them more than I have. And having the roles switch of a person I barely know to a person that I've been in a show with, or a person who's been my mentor or teacher to a coworker. It's a different experience.
Yeah.
And I think experiencing that for the first time was both exciting and kind of nerve-wracking.
Right. How do you feel about it now that you're in the midst of it? Is it as nerve-wracking, I guess, is my one, or is it that kind of calming down in you?
Well, there's always that opening night feeling, or that right before the show feeling that you get just nervous about how it's gonna go. But it definitely gets it gets less nerve-wracking when you know that there are people both in the audience and on stage with you that support you.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You're all a team, right? Making this thing happen, including the audience, I think. Like Michael mentioned, you can't do it without them. It needs that as well. So, well, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm talking to some of the cast and the playwright from Return Engagement. It's being put on by Theater Do Mississippi. This is the second weekend, so if you haven't seen it yet, make sure you go get tickets. There are showings Friday and Saturday evening at 7 p.m. This weekend, and then Sunday there's a matinee at 2 p.m. You can get tickets at Chapter 2 Books or No Name Bar. You can also get them online through Eventbrite. And yeah, so I think that's about it, right? Kathleen, do you remember? I am looking for. Is it theaterdomississippi.org?
It's theaterdomiss.org.
.org.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
That's okay.
theaterdomiss.org for more information or for tickets and showtimes and things like that. You guys, thank you so much for being here today. This is the part of the show now you get to see when I get nervous and kind of frazzled, because this is the part of the show when I'm doing this live that I always this is the difficult part for me. I'm supposed to play the music that comes in at the end and then talk over it. And there's a countdown for me here. But for some reason, the first time I did this, I've mixed up the countdowns in my head, and now I can never get it straight. It's just if I take the wrong route to a place, I take that wrong route all the time. I get lost every time. So we're going to see if I can do this correctly. It's counting down right now. There's going to be an announcer that comes in, and what I'm supposed to do is talk until that announcer comes. And I get so scared, I always leave early. So.
I think you're doing a great job. We're all talking about
agree.
it.
Yeah. Thumbs up.
Good. I'm so nervous, you guys. Okay, thank you so much. Theater to Mississippi. Get your tickets right now.
Heartbeat is written and produced by KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at kqal.org.
Thank you guys so much.
No problem.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Wow.